Hi there, and welcome to this lesson on rendering. How do we render our project? Once we've created our amazing motion design project, we have to render it to turn it into a movie file so that we can send it off to our clients or post it on social media or pass it off to somebody else. So, how do we do that? It's actually very easy to render a project. All we have to do is just make sure that we have our timeline comp selected, which we do, and we go up to composition and we say add to render queue. And boom, our render queue panel opens up and there is our render ready to go. Main comp, you can see it's the right composition because it matches the name of this timeline here. The second way we can render is actually just open up our comp right here in the project window, select it, and then go to composition, add to render queue, and there it is. It's sitting down here in a render queue as well. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. And your settings may look slightly different here for your output module. It's probably not gonna say ProRes 422 HQ. That's because I have set mine up to be a default ProRes renderer. That's okay though. So we're gonna walk through these really quickly. So you basically have three sections you need to pay attention to: the render settings, the output module, and the output 2. We'll start with output 2. This is very simple. All you're going to do is you're going to click on this, and we're just going to select the folder we want to render to, which I'm in. And we're going to change the name here. If we need to change the name, if it's a version, whatever, I'll say this is main comp 2, and I'll say save, and that's all we have to do here. So that's the easy one. Next, we're gonna go back to render settings and it defaults to best settings. And if I click that, it opens up a dialog box here for render settings. And pretty much you always wanna be set to best. You want to set the resolution to full, which for our composition is 1280 by 720. If you were to change this to something else, like let's say half, it's going to render at half size 640 by 360. Pretty simple. If you were to leave this at full and change this to draft, it's going to render it at a much lower quality. So best and full are always advised. Disk cache, typically I just leave this alone. I actually don't mess with these settings really ever for render settings because you can change things like frame blending, field render. These are very advanced settings, proxies, things like that, which we're not going to get into. I will create another training series later on that gets more into advanced rendering. But for your purposes, all you need to know is best, full, and click OK. Lastly, we have the output module, and this is very important as well. And I'll click that. It opens up here. Jumping into color management, you don't really have to mess with this stuff either. I rarely ever mess with this stuff. I just leave it how it is. The most important thing is here under format, how you want to render it out. Is it a QuickTime? Is it a PNG sequence? Is it a JPEG sequence? TIFF sequence? What is it? Is it a WAV file? Majority of the time, you're going to be rendering QuickTime, especially on a Mac. We've got post render actions, which we don't need to get into as well. Next, video output, RGB or RGB and alpha if you have an alpha channel. Most of the time, you're just gonna be rendering RGB unless you're rendering, elements like typography that has an alpha channel. You want to make sure that RGB plus alpha is enabled. Depth, millions of or trillions of colors. I like to work with trillions of colors. Color, you're going to leave this alone for the most part. If you need to resize your render for whatever reason, you would enable this and you would say, hey, I need to resize it to, whatever size you need to resize it to. You typically do not want to render it larger than your composition is set up because you're going to lose quality by doing that. Turn that back off. Crop, if you need to crop it. I rarely use this. Audio output, there's on, auto, and off. I think it defaults to off. Our composition has audio. So if you happen to render with this set to off, you're going to render your animation out, and all of a sudden you're going to say, well, where's the audio? It's silent here. You're going to have to re-render it again, which is a total pain in the butt. So I would advise that you set it to audio output auto. And then it detects if there's audio in your composition, it's going to attach it. If there's no audio, it's not going to try to attach any type of audio. If you have audio, you can change the frequencies here. Typically, we're 44.1 or 48. 16-bit, 8-bit, 32. I usually leave it at 16, stereo or mono. You can click this, and there's a few more advanced settings here. Nothing too exciting. And one thing I forgot to mention was backup here in video output. This is very important. When you select whatever format you're working with, and in this case, it's a QuickTime, you can change the format options here. And for my purposes, a lot of times I'm rendering ProRes. ProRes is on the Mac and the PC side of things now. And ProRes is just a really awesome codec for quality. It does a really great job. The files are not too big. Back in the day, I used to only use animation. Animation looks amazing, but the file size is huge. So typically, if I'm doing something for client approval, I may use Apple ProRes 422 or Apple 422 Proxy if it's a really quick preview. For sending something final to a client, I will typically go 422 HQ or 4444 if it has to be very high quality and if it has to include an alpha channel. It's very important. 422 HQ does not include alphas. 4444 can include an alpha channel. Beyond that, there's a few different format codecs here. These are all different codecs. You may have some other ones installed in your system that you're not seeing here. That's cool. Whatever you prefer to work with, this is where you set that. So if I was to change this to, actually I'll leave it ProRes 422 HQ. I'll click OK. And that's why I can't select an alpha channel here with the RGB. If I change this to 4444, it includes the ability to carry an alpha channel. And now I can select alpha channel. So it just depends what codec you're working with. And then also, if you change to a different codec, sometimes these video settings and advanced settings will pop up depending on your codec. For ProRes, it leaves these grayed out because they're not available to us. So that's all you have to do. And then you're just going to click OK. And at that point, all you have to do now is click render. And it's just going to start rendering through your timeline. And you're going to see it up here. It's going frame by frame by frame. It's moving through here. The more RAM you have installed on your machine, you're going to see that down here. It's using 36%, 37%, 38%. Typically, when I run out of RAM allocated for After Effects, that's when the render sometimes will slow down. So there it goes. It's doing its thing. Once it's finished, all the way here at the end, that tells me my render is ready to be viewed, and I can go to wherever I saved it, open it up, and check it out. So if for whatever reason you have to pause your render, you can click pause here. It's going to stop moving. It's not doing anything. I can continue at any time. If I need to stop it, if I realize, hey, I'm seeing this, there's something wrong with it, I can just stop it and create or adjust what I need to adjust, and then create another render instance in the render queue and render that one out. So that's all you need to know how to render. It's a very simple process. It can get very complex, but for the majority of the time, you can just set up very quickly, render something out, and you're good to go, and you've made some amazing motion design that the world can see.